Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our Power of Knowing Forums Knowledge Nexus Talks, a LinkedIn live session, episode 172. Today, we are discussing on the topic of compliance to confidence, a phased data security strategies for modern enterprise. For the discussion to have, we have the honor of having Sandeep Kumar A, the cybersecurity practice and data privacy leader, award-winning CISO and DPO. Without further ado, let's bring our esteemed guest to the podcast. Hi, Sandeep.
Hi Prem, good evening.
Good evening. How are you today, sir?
I'm perfectly good and more excited to join here.
Welcome to our podcast, sir. A brief intro about yourself and your journey over the years for the benefit of our audience.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Prem, for having me here. And myself, Sandeep, and I am from currently working in IT industry. It's been 17 years, and I've traveled more than 16 countries so far in terms of the business and personal trips, and got opportunity to look at different culture and technology aspects. And currently, I'm working as a director for cybersecurity and data privacy, look after the global view of all the security requirements and compliances. And my previous engagement with the Capgemini Netherlands, and now I'm with India with Radisys. Thank you.
I have Vijay also, our co-host for the session. Hi, Vijay. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Prem. Good evening, Sandeep.
Hi, good evening, Vijay.
Sandeep, to start with, see, data privacy, data protection for enterprises has been the talk of the industry when we started looking at the cloud adoption predominantly, right? So, how do you think the importance of data protection for enterprises and recent threats? What is
Mhm.
your take on that, sir?
Sure. The first of all, I would like to bring the interest aspect why this has been evolved and how it became mandatory for all of us. So the many of us today working with the global approaches of in terms of either ITES or healthcare or any other services. We collaborate with the global services and offerings and support our products, etc. So the global service, the global footprint today, if we are seeing the 60% of land of law become as the data privacy compliance requirement. So look at the GDPR as a EU, and we have a UK and US CCPAs, and similarly Australia, and upcoming for India DPDPA, and we have China. So majority of the business contributions and services offering globally, the countries are more stringent on their data privacy laws, and henceforth the data compliances and requirements become as a more for the companies who does the the global businesses and operations. And henceforth this become as a mandatory for us to comply. And it is not just for complying start to stop with, and it is also a trust that we are trying to gain with the customers and our neighbor countries, that how we are enable our security controls and posture management to safeguard the interest of the business of the both sides. I'm sorry, is it mine? Sorry.
Not yours. I think there's a disturbance from
Right.
another. Uh, Vijay, I think you are. I can think you can remove your background. I think there is no sync that you are speaking, and the audio is not matching. So let's not have a background. I think, Sandeep.
Okay, let's go to the next.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Okay. Now, how do you see the criticality and the sensitivity of data for organizations playing a role with current trends? Sandeep?
Fantastic, good question, Prem. We have to look at every organization. The way of the dealing of data has been changed. Now, start with any small organization to the large organization. The critical data, if we are looking at the by default critical data, I could say that the HR function is the first area where the individual, the employee's data information has been collected and managed and processed. And this is one area for every organization has the PII. And if it is only for the India, for example, today, since we don't have enforcement on the DPDPA, is fine. But if we are doing the business is growing and we are operating with multi countries, then definitely the data becomes more and more sensitive. And the second area is I would like to call for the finance, and where the today all the businesses people there is two or different models that I want to take. One is the traditional, as a software industry, the people develop software and deliver and support is one area. The second area is the where people augmentation. People place resources in different countries, and there are different people in place and payment systems in place, and you have the finance collecting the data from different countries of the PIA information, also equally important to protect it based on their regulatory. In India, we probably fall under the PCI DSS and RBI guidelines, similarly, etc. And the third area is the product support. So here again, if it is we are the purpose of data that we collect, the nature of data that we collect. So if it is just an the product fixing, collecting IPs, IP address, username, and some the territory informations, all this is not human, but it is again the indirectly PII identifiable information which need to be protected. So the area of the very default scenarios would be HR, finance, and we have the support places where we need to look at the sensitive data, the way of we are collecting, and where we are, how we are being processed, and where we are storing, or is there any intermediate platforms that been used and securing those. So today we are is no more on the on-prem, we are in the cloud hybrid model. We use the different platforms, SaaS. Of course, we use AI models. So there are different technologies has been evolved, and the risk also eventually increased. So we need to look at the organization, the sensitive data where we collect, process, and store, and applicable have the applicable compliances to meet those requirements and start making the controls over to it.
Okay. Sandeep, from your experience, how
Mhm.
can leaders transition from their teams viewing compliance as a necessity burden to see it is trust building exercise, enhances both security and confidence? How do you think? What is your viewpoint on that, Sandeep?
Yes, definitely a very good question. If we are looking at the awareness and culture, is definitely one of the key area to bring to the across the organization, and even it includes the teams and multi teams, etc. But the nature of business that the organization does, and what are the compliances and implications that they deal with it, and the awareness on the cybersecurity and different types of attacks, and the security safeguarding those assets, identities, and data. So these three elements should and your security incident management. So all is your defense mechanisms is required, and security essentials for all the new joiners and the existing employees. Every year we need to we need to repeat and ensure that they are aware of the latest type of threats and vulnerabilities, and therefore they are safeguarding those elements. It is very important. The culture is very important. Rather, you just buy tools and probably bringing the right mindset of people, but the culture also eventually important, otherwise we will not be able to succeed.
Vijay, you are on mute, I think. We are not able to hear you. Vijay?
I
No.
think no.
Okay. Coming to the next pointer that I want to understand, how important is building up a data or developing a data security policy that is impact on both employees and customers? Can you share a pointer where when you shifted this, uh, what empathy shift you approached in data strategy between having an empathetic discussion? I would like to rephrase. How important is empathy while developing data security policies that has impacted both employees and customers? Any pointer on that?
Yeah, sure, Prem. This point brings the empathy and the trust, definitely brings additional value to the organization and the business.
Yeah.
So uh, it is, of course, our caption also the good answer.
Mhm.
Compliance to confidence, right?
Yeah.
So today we are not just saying we need to comply for the compliance requirement. No, it is the way of the mindset of dealing the things has been changed. The way of we need to look at the business and the requirements and protecting each other, the customer and customer and our business, right? Controller and processor. All the today the landscape is evolved and securing of both interest and to grow business, the trust is mandatory and empathy on the both side equally important. So that is how even the data compliances and frameworks and the penalties also aligned with that, so that everybody is accountable, and they are being measured as a ownership and transparency, and of course the trust. These are the very large term of words that uh, uh, we need to comply, rather just as a compliance to follow the checklist or the frameworks. So the empathy is one of the key area for winning the business and the promising of the both side.
Thanks for that, Vijay. I think your audio is still having a problem, Vijay. Just check. Okay. Coming to the next pointer, what strategies can help align security awareness across varied experience level, from freshers to seniors? And how do you keep everyone invested in the importance of security without overwhelming?
Very good, Prem. Yeah. So if we are looking at, obviously, it cannot be one man show. We need to have all the organization to align with the security requirements and compliances, and we need to have a multi stage or multi layered approach to make that happen. Number one, uh, target the audience of the users who is been working on the projects, and provide them the security essentials and conduct multiple phishing simulations, and make the more tangible security and compliances the events within the organization to enable them the security awareness and the today evolving breaches and the knowing them rather the silo. And stage two is the product and security. We need to ensure that secure SDLC is being followed, and we ensure that our products is being secure and quality measured. So when I'm saying quality, it is not about the product as a defect quality and product security quality. So
Hmm.
all these are being followed. And the third layer is all our infrastructure. Today we are seeing the access of the devices has been no more as a single. Right now we have laptop, desktop, mobile, and you have a BYOD, etc. So the securing the critical assets, data, and identity became as a very much importance. And and identity is no more as individual, and it became as a global. So we have a federated access, multi-access, and definitely now again AI, which is another technology driven and challenging for security. So we need to enable the operations security, product security culture in the within the organization with the users, and more importantly having the assessments and where we stand and the risk and our footprint for the future development, that need to be forecasted and well informed or connected to the management objectives. So this is very important. And uh, so usually running as a probably quarterly one internal meeting with the management to understand where we stand and whether we need additional budgets to go, or what are the risks that we are going, and what are the mitigations and roadmaps that we deal with it. So uh, explaining the our strength and weaknesses to management is very important, so that they will be aware of where we stand and what we need for the improvement and etc. And in that way, with all the layers of security approaches and process to be followed, and that helps definitely organizations to secure the organization. We talk about secure by design and default, but talk about the secure organization and grow the organization, and that definitely enable for the next level, right?
Yeah.
It builds the trust to the customer, trust to the partners, trust to the our employees on our systems, applications, and access.
Makes sense. Now, coming, see, the point that I wanted to also understand from you, being
Mhm.
the security side, you mentioned 2 pointers: security by design and security by default.
Yeah.
With the current practices that we are having, I don't see we have done by default. At least, can we make it by design? That's what I've been thinking over the course of my career. Is that security is one I think was least considered to be invested in any organization at a very earlier stage, right? At what
True.
we started as a career way back 20-25 years back, when we said security was always considered as a pain point where they don't want to invest, right? And that's still being a myth. Some people think that security is not, but when things go wrong, the question comes back to the security team and the compliance team saying that you've not maintained compliances, right? So that's the drive that happens over a period of compliance piece that you've been handling. Now, what would you recommend when we say security by design or by default? How should we bring that shift as a adoption in the industry, by default or by design? What is your take on it?
In fact, very tangible question and more excited to answer. Thank you, Prem. Looking at secure by design is a way of technology driven, but secure by default is just not a technology, right? So we that's why we say that it's not happening. So secure by design with the people and process and technology, all this has to meet so that we will be able to meet. When we are talking about the technology tools and we talk about the multi environments and tools and configurations, etc. And this is all becomes as your secure by design, where you ensure that you have a threat modeling and you have a vulnerability management, patch management, and use ISO or CIS NIST benchmark for your infrastructure to qualify security incident management. So defense in depth has been followed as a first layer of security, and the second is at the at initial stage when we are building. So we know that what kind of business that we are going to drive, and vulnerabilities that we may expose, and the system integrations and communications with the third party that we deal with it. So that's brings a first step is a threat modeling to ensure what are the security gates that we need to ensure to protect the interest of the operations and business. Number one, this is all securing operations, and by design is by culture and the process and policies. So where we have all this aligned, these three: people, process, and technology, then it becomes as a secure by design your products or your infrastructure and operations and process, and this is more aligned to the your policy, procedures, awareness, culture, all this. So then it becomes as a together.
Your way of telling is, I'll split it into two pieces. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
When you say by design, you're thinking it to be integrated with technology, right?
Yeah.
By default, you're making it as a policy, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So the what very good insights there. Now, to shift from a policy based to a technology based. So my take towards understanding is, how do we look at bringing that policy enforcement, because once you have a policy, then technology is easy to be implemented, right? So bringing it to a design would be easier, because that's a policy that we have driven to an organization to bring uh, security there. Now, many organizations have started looking at their code vulnerabilities, their uh, encryption technologies, their way of transmitting data from one location to another location. 128 bit or 256 bit encryptions have been implemented and stuff like that. Now, how do we look at bringing that culture to the organization which they follow as a policy? That can be done, or it's a difficult task to be done.
Exactly. So the policy, I'll just take one small example. Uh, the technology can be enabled anything and everything,
Yeah.
and we say tomorrow my vendor is coming to office and said, sir, my I forgot to bring my laptop and it has some data. I want to show you some video. Can I
Hmm.
plug in my USB to your system so that I can play and show you? So
Hmm.
the technology will enable, okay, so that we will probably the IT guy will say, okay, I'll enable the port, you can show. It's a technology. I'm just hypothetical scenario.
Hmm.
And the other person says, no, my company, as per the IT policy, will not allow you to do this, right?
Hmm.
So when there is a technology and the process and your policy has been designed and enforced, and it is just not about understanding the people, but it is integrated with the tools. And then with your AD policies and your WAF and your CI/CD pipelines and your DevSecOps policies, then it becomes a more robust and it is automated,
Hmm.
and this is how it becomes your secure by design and default, right?
Okay.
Can you walk us through a phased approach
Mhm.
to data security? What are the benefits of implementing security in stages versus all at once? Because sometimes we go phase by phase, and sometimes we do it uh, at one time, right? So especially for organization just starting out.
Sure. So I think, Vijay, it's a very good and relevant question. Today, in the many small and medium enterprises, the people don't have CISOs and DPOs. They really want this information to understand how they can enable their organization as data privacy to follow, or probably data compliant to for their business needs, right? So I would like to start with it. uh, Data privacy and data security is not among the same, but it has the both handshake. But the value and the purpose of this both are different. So data security talks about the data securing using of to ensure that the confidentiality and integrity to manage, which using of the tools, you have a encryption and you have a identity and access management RBACs to ensure that the right person is accessed, and you have disk encryptions, network securities, and multiple layers of security to ensure that we are securing the data and only giving access to the authorized. Unauthorized will not have access to the systems and data. So this becomes as a data security. And data privacy talks about the the more focus is protecting the individual's privacy or individual's data. So this becomes as one of the major the change between the security and the privacy. And I'll start with that. And then the faced by approaches. The organizations today, if they are dealing with structured and unstructured data, and they need to understand the data flow of the organization. Number one, this phase one is identifying the data. Phase two is implementation. Phase three is a governance. The phase one, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt. So, phase one is start with discovery of the understanding of your data, where it is been, I mean, the collected, processed, and stored. And number one is that first is identification of discovery, and second stage is have your ROPA. So this the records of ROPA will help to understand the type of data that you have in the organization, and where and all the source of the information, or probably the type of information that you have. And that helps. You might be serving for 10 different customers, and if I'm serving to the bank, the sensitivity of data, probably either I am directly indirectly responsible for accessing systems and data is different, and I'm serving to the ITS company is different, I'm serving to the probably healthcare is different. So first identify post your discovery, having your records of data in ROPA, and the third one is gap on those elements, and have the fourth one is aligning of your identity and access controls towards to it. uh, all this process is one area, and develop a security, I mean the cyber security and privacy policy. This is stage one, which I failed to start. And then the stage two goes, and the data exposed to the external. Now you have, I mean, we have the security policy driven, and we need to have the tangible TPIAs to understand where and all our the gaps and the risk are being aligned, or PIA, DPIA. And consent management is one of the key area to build. And fourth one is breach management to build, which is internal and external. And the fifth one, in the phase two, I think risk management. So it is not mandatory, but it is good to do the risk management, so that it brings external threats along with the internal. So that is more tangible. This is phase one and two approach. And phase three is more on the governance side. So more we continuously monitoring and improving, and we have ethical way of dealing the purpose of the data limitations, and the contractual things, third party supply chain management on the data, contractors and subcontractors dealing. And you have SCCs, which is standard contractual clauses, and Tom's technical operational measures that you validate to your processors and sub processors to ensure that on behalf of the data that they manage is protected and controlled, and you know that risk what where they stand based on the terms, and how do you improve the risk posture, etc. And then SCCs, and we have a if it is very critical, then either you need to have DPO or probably a data privacy specialist to manage. All this will bring one understanding of the phased manner to ensure that your data is being identified, protected, and policy driven and governed. So these are the structure way of dealing with it. We need to have a phase one is first 3 months, and phase two is 3 months, and phase three 3 months, something tangible plan roadmap to build this. It cannot be done overnight, but it is possible that we can align and ensure that all our security on the elements are being identified, protected, and detected, and mitigated or recovered in a streamlined, mature manner. DPIA is one of the key area to follow, and of course, it is not DPIA only one of the approach. It can be used by NIST or ISO standards as a risk management procedures to understand, but more tangible is DPIA on the data privacy side.
Okay, important points there. You mentioned a step by step process on how it is to be implemented in terms of. Now, coming to the next point that I want to understand,
Mhm.
people say data security, data privacy, and stuff. Now, with DPDP and the policies coming in to store, retrieve, archive data on cybersecurity and also control data, what uh, are the some common mistakes the data security guys do that could be avoided? Are there anything that you have encountered during your implementation of this privacy and security operations?
So I'll take it as a in generic. What are the difficult or probably right question, which I feel is there is a lot of duplication of data. That is a lot of challenges for the people. So,
Hmm.
for example, people collect from. I'll take probably Salesforce is one of the largely used people, and I'm not sure whether I've been called out here, but I'm not talking about Salesforce, but platform. People collects the information. They do the support functions like we have BPOs and etc. So they sits in different countries. People sit in India or Philippines and China and UK, Canada, etc. So the data of their customers is being pulled out in multi countries, and so the which is not been knowing to the as a L1 L2 engineer, but eventually it is that same data is sitting in 3 4 different locations and different systems. The and duplication of that one is a end systems. The second one is when somebody is escalating or testing the product fixings, etc. That also goes to the different layers. So it may also go to the product team, and it goes to the testing on the labs, and probably it is again from the one country to another country based on their infrastructure and and their team capabilities, etc. So the duplication of data, what I'm trying to say is one of the key area to eliminate at the first stage, so that in case of any single breach should not impact to the multi territory units. So one breach from the GDPR, and same data probably compromised by multi countries and the end devices can also cause a severe fines and implications on the data reputation to the organizations. So this is one of the common mistake in the industry, knowingly unknowingly people does.
Now, coming to that pointer where you said common mistakes, now we'll talk at a business level enabling thing where how do you think the executives and the top management view data security? It's an expense or a value add?
In fact, it is started as a the meeting the controls of the security and compliances is the expenses to the organization.
Hmm.
And of course, for industry, I hope you will agree with me. CISO or anybody is a C level who is responsible to drive security and privacy is not actually a thankful job, right? So it's all expensive to the organization, but the traditional way of shifting is started. So the organizations which is being matured and being able to showcase their capability and become a more trust of the business doing the way, then the more business going to them, the more one is business is being continuously evolving, and trust is being built. Another one is the ecosystem that you are being comply, and your systems and knowledge and the process is enabled to pick any type of business that you can manage, because you are already equipped with the security qualification and the systems. That is becoming as a mindset of changing. I'm enable I mean, my organization is comply, and I'm eligible to do a business to the EU, probably Europe and USA or whatnot, right? So this is becoming the just not expensive, but it is also a business enabler. So you're rightly pointed, and this is how it is trending started.
Now, I think I'll add to what you said is, I think the organizations are shifting their focus from a cost based thing to a value add that they can bring
Exactly.
in, yeah, bringing security to the forefront. I think organizations are, the more the cloud adoption, the more the security that we need to look at, because we are not accessing the system that are there on a data center. We are organized using cloud, where, because when you talk about data center, it becomes a different terminology. When we talk about accessing of a data center, predominantly earlier phases where each organization had their own data centers and the data used to sit in their premises, so that consideration was to look at more of an insider threat. Now the data is sitting across the enterprise and it is on cloud. uh, Organizations also look at bringing some of the compliance certifications like ISO, ISMS, and stuff
And
like that.
SOC 2 exit. Yeah.
SOC 2 and stuff, right? So bring enablement, saying that our systems are working according to the procedures and practices prescribed by these organizations, say PFSI or a-
True.
any organization that is having. So I think the standardization is more important, and any organization which is getting accredited to these certifications gets a value by having this certification as a secure compliance organization, which can be a privacy policy, a cookie policy, or data processing policy that they put across in their websites. That is becoming mandatory. I think shift, as you rightly said, is now is becoming a value add, whereas compared to a cost center earlier, because security was always considered as a cost center, is my view and what I've understood over the years. It depends on each organization, but the organizations are changing, and the current structure is it's a value add. How do I protect the data that is there? I own it is more becoming important, is what I think. Sunil. Your take on it, Sunil.
I agree, definitely, Prem. So today, any services that we offer in cloud and multi-cloud environments, and it is very easy to reachable to the global market, and the number of the POCs is increased, number of use scenarios is increased, number of instances and the regionals are increased. So of course, with a single click with the cloud, the business is being enabled for the global, and security and trust is a matter. And based on the compliances or the requirements and the frameworks that we mentioned, ISO, SOC 2, All these are the benchmarks to talk about the qualification to the organizations to take further and win the trust with the customers.
Vijay?
Can you share a challenging situation where cyber resilience played a critical role? Uh, what lessons can organizations learn about building resilience into their security frameworks?
In between, there is a lag in the voice. Would you mind to can you repeat?
Yes. Can you share a challenging situation
Mhm.
where cyber resilience played a critical role?
Yeah. So, in fact, when there is a hypothetical scenario, if there is any breach on your system's confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? So, when there is an point of the data that need to be protected, the first one is the organizations to have is a data retention and backup policy, and your critical assets of the assets and the data both are being identified and aligned with your BIS business impact assessments, and aligned with your SLAs with your stakeholders internal and external, and have all this is backed up properly and tested. So many of organizations use third party tools and they feel that I'm taking daily backup or incremental backups and I am safe. So when moment comes when there is a restore, how many is been succeed and how fast that we can able to do the test is very important. And the lesson is more, it's not about how what frequency and how much you take a backup and your HA and availability of your infrastructure. It is about also turnaround, and the testings is one of the key area to check. And the resilience on multi-layered approach, right? You have security incident management to ensure that your business is protected and mitigated with the right controls and with less impact. And you have a data backups to restore, and your identities and the systems has been securely enough to protect your cybersecurity posture and frameworks to utilize. So all this is the key area as a resilience to use and manage and restore when there is a required. Today it is not just the service is on prime, as Prem said. It has multi I mean cloud and multi environments being enabled, so it can be anywhere and any place that you can with a single click enable the services. But only thing is you should have the right policy procedures and testings in place so that it is available. uh, the best example is when we all moved to the COVID situation. We are not going to offices and start working from home. So many organizations not equipped with the work from home scenario. Either they are forced to do that, or they no choice to, and they didn't had a choice and they have to do it. So the technology is well adapted and process oriented. Turnaround was very quick, and rather the other small organizations eventually moved, but they have to sit and do their homework to build in a week or 10 days to facilitate their work from home scenarios. It's not just about the protecting or giving the laptop. It is protecting their identities and accesses and monitoring those, and ensuring that their the resilience in place to protect the business environment. So these are the things that which are probably I could just thought of for now, Prem or Vijay.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sandeep. Now, you mentioned one pointer where you said stakeholders. I just wanted to bring up a pointer where we talk about how to create an alignment and get a buy-in from the non-IT and the IT teams, which is important for data security. I'm talking about how do we take a shared responsibility making cybersecurity a default? What is your take on engaging stakeholders across department in security?
Okay. Was that referring to only internal organization or the shared
I'm,
responsibility
I'm
also?
mentioning it to stakeholders
Ah,
in
got it.
general. We are not
So
talking about internal or external stakeholders in general.
done. In fact, I was expected to answer as a whole.
Hmm.
So yeah, the protection of the business is is yes. We all talk about the insider threats are more serious than the external threats because we do a trust zone and some it is easy to penetrate, right?
Hmm.
But we need to secure the ecosystem. That's why we have today the environment called zero trust, and we have SASIS. All this is trust nothing or trust before or maybe verify before trust. So all this is one of the area, the ecosystem of the stakeholders of internal organization. You have your HR systems or the people process culture, which is your HR, finance, IT operations, and you have admin and facilities. So all ecosystem is one way of internal stakeholders looking and protecting the and bringing one in one umbrella using of the framework. So that is how our ISO framework is one of the reference that I want to take is conducting multiple internal assessment will help you to bring all the people in one framework as a culture to build the secure ecosystem within the organization. And when it comes to the external threats from your partners and vendors, so the access is being given to your partners and vendors for business of interest accessing and developing some applications or some the project related work. Ensure that the access the is given with defense in depth manner like multi-factor authentication and identities reviews and validations. And we have endpoint security and DLPs in place in case of unauthorized or anomaly detections to identify the unauthorized accesses or behaviors such as. And the data, the amount of confidential and sensitive data is getting leaked from organization to the third party should be monitored and detected. This is all is technology, right? And we have another way of looking at is a process and the policies. And this is all administrative controls. And we need to have the stringent policies in terms of the NDAs, and we have right governance and the contractual terms to manage those. So the put together looking at the technology and your risk posture and policy and procedures, which makes to understand and bring them all in one layer. And it is as Prem said, it is not that easy to make that, but more as like you have a more control on the internal, but external it is always applied based on your company policies and procedures, administrative controls. To be frank, there are few customers that you may be working with bigger than you as an organization, right? So in that situation you need to follow their regulatory or their controls, but ensure what we are being the purpose of the business that we do, and the security controls that needs are mutually agreed and protected. And if there is any risk that has been identified, and feel free to discuss with your partners or vendors, and how do we improve or how do they improve to meet the customer requirements and align the timelines to make that happen. Otherwise it will be unbalanced, and we will have I mean the governance and compliances or probably the trust related issues with customer. So I feel this the way we have to do. And having one kind of a centralized risk management approach for validations for the supply chain is helping us today.
What has been your most successful method for motivating teams to adopt proactive rather than reactive security measures? Any actionable steps for managers to inspire their teams?
uh, which I see personally, right? So, cybersecurity, it's not about just a tools. We need to have always mindset when when we are there as a 24/7 as a security person. Always you think and react. So this is very important. And before you do something, what would be the consequences will come, and how do I manage, and what would be the that's how any security related topic we say, either don't trust and verify, think and react. These are the components that as a mindset a human we should have. And proactive measures is sometimes the technology may be in place, but it can be sometimes false positive. So we need to have the right mindset of dealing with the scenarios and requirements, and then always be positive and have your the alignment with your business, so that uh, uh, the success story of mine is more aligning the business requirements and enabling the business to grow, right? One is to continue to support and secure, another one is enable your platforms robust and equipped with the quick shift. And that is very important thanks to the cloud. And today many of them is not worried about the shift and the spike of the requirements suddenly that goes and down, up and down. So these are the two things which one is continuously managing the security posture and do that, but have in mind of your future projection of your company, and knowing your competitors is very important to deal with it.
Thanks for that insights. Coming to the last question that I have to have in this session, post that we'll look at if any questions are rising there. Now, looking at the evolving threats, what shifts do you foresee for data security, and how can organizations build a strategy that can align enough to handle unknown threats ahead?
I think this is one of the tough question that you asked because I think we cannot say that 100% secure at any point of time. And we can say secure enough, but we are not 100% secure, right? And to align this, right, we need to have basically all the security requirements and posture and everything aligned. But there are different types of, you keep try to build a new technology, and there is another way of attackers or the threats are being evolving. So we were initially thought of kind of DDoS attacks and phishing attacks, but we have seen ransomware. And we never know that there will be a boom in the social media, and social media attacks will happen. Today we are seeing that. And also there is a evolution of the digitalization. Protecting the digital data is one of the key for for the countries like India. We And culture is very important. So a lot of unidentified or unverified data we are seeing, even in the channels or the people post and etc. So digital security and privacy is one of the key area to look at. But for answer to your question is, I see today is the largest phishing attack. And then we have it can be based on your email, phones, and uh, any method of approaches. But phishing is one of the area, and the second one is the ransomware is keep growing, and third would be assuming that AI would be one of the biggest threat, right? While it is helping, but it is the other hand is going to be a big threat. Ethical AI and responsible AI is one of the key that we all need to stand for.
Thank you for those insights. I'll just do a small summary of that what we discussed about. We discussed about some of the importance of data protection for enterprises and recent threats. We spoke about the role of data security. We spoke about security while doing an empathy piece. Then we spoke about how C-suits look at, or the top leaderships looks at AI and security, aligning the security. Some pitfalls are common challenges, what we said. And we also look at how business can be an security can be an enabler for business actually. So we spoke on that. And finally we spoke about some of looking at stakeholder engagement, how do we motivate teams, and what are the few things that we should be prepared for future disruptions in data security. With this, I think, Sandeep, it's been a great session for us today, and a lot of insights and a lot of pointers to be taken. Yeah, I think, as Sandeep rightly said, data said we are not secure at any time. Things get evolved, and data security is a continuous process, and it keeps evolving, and we need to keep ourselves evolved in terms of AI coming in, which Sandeep spoke about. It is it is that even the hackers are looking at AI for hacking you. You know, if you are having AI tools, you need to look at they having much more advanced tools like having to hack an AI system itself. So things will keep changing. There are multiple tools which are coming up, and what we see is every day there is a challenge in cybersecurity and data protection, and that will continue to be there as long as we are on digital fronts. So we'll have to safeguard ourselves, plan for ourselves, monitor, review, as Sandeep rightly said, put a plan, execute it, monitor and view, change things accordingly, review again, and start implementing best possible practices that can solve our threats and evolving threats going ahead. With this, I would like to conclude my session. Any final words, Sandeep, Vijay, you would like to add before we conclude?
I think I'll just take one word, and which probably helps for the industry. Uh, Today, there is a role because of the compliances evolving is a DPO, and there is a conflict of interest between the organizations. People see this as whether DPO can be a legal liar, or DPO can be a technology driven. So, in my personal view, we need both. Should be a hand in hand. The technology of the data privacy is more like a protection and detection layer. Ensure that your 80% or 90% has been controlled, managed, and monitored at the at the technology layer, and probably a 10% of, in case of any uneventual situations to deal with it, you definitely need a legal hand in hand, which is your legal team as a DPO. So DPO organization should have a technology and the legal driven people, right mindset to protect the organization. So it's not about the conflict, it is about the requirement of both. Thank you.
Vijay?
So as I see, data security is very important to adhere the policies and procedures within the organization. And there are a lot of takeaways from this session. Thank you for that, Sandeep.
Thank
Thank you. I
you.
think I'll add to what Sandeep said as a final conclusion. Uh, See, legal and security is going to become a norm going forward, because anything that you touch on a data, that is going to be legally challenged, because we're going to look at data in India, at least in specific. We are going to look at data going to be very strict. The board is getting announced, and we are in a process of having the DPDP coming into picture, where every data that is getting collected has to be told how it is getting collected, what is the period that you'll hold, after that how it is getting processed, once it is processed how many days you'll archive it, and how do you store it after the archiving is done, when is that you are deleting, and confirmation back to the user has to go that your data has been deleted after the process has been done. So that's the process that we are looking at in India, for us to have all the data process on a higher level. There are a lot of policies coming in, lot of procedures coming in, which are going to be taken at a legal standpoint at a later stage, which can be in fines, can be imprisonment and stuff like if data is breached. So I take completely what Sandeep was saying. We need to look at data both from a legal and ethical compliance stand. With this, I would like to conclude the session. Thank you. Sandeep, stay online while we end the session. I would like to inform you that we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope this discussion was valuable for you. Thank you for joining us. Our next podcast is tomorrow, an episode of 173rd, which we will talk about cultivate, build a winning team culture from day one, for which we will have Mr. Thomas, Mr. Rajiv, and Mr. Sunil speaking on that at 6:30 p.m. IST. Looking forward to see you. Good day. Bye for now. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Vijay. I think Vijay got dropped. With this, we would like to conclude our show. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Thank